Hello again, and welcome back to Hell. We'll be moving on to the second circle of Hell this is now Canto 5, perhaps the most read, the most anthologized uh, canto of all of the Divine Comedy because it's about lust. And it's the one that everybody remembers, the most illustrated canto, probably as well, because it contains the episode of Paolo and Francesco, two lusting um, denizens of the second circle. The first circle, which we've just vacated, is contains the incontinent and the pagans. So mostly the pagans we remember. But we're moving on to Canto 5 here, and I've just lost my place. Here we go. You move into the next circle by descending, so we're constantly going down uh, in Inferno. This way I went descending from the first into the second round that holds less space. Okay, so we have the circles in Hell are not perfect circles. I mean, what makes a circle perfect is coming back exactly to the same place so that the line when you're drawing the circle meets itself, which is what we mean when we say that the circle is a symbol of infinity, because it never ends. Okay. But it's not exactly a circle. There are circles, but they are spirals, girone. They are gyrating things. They gyre about. So they are. It's a spiral. So as we go down, it gets narrower and narrower. So it's kind of a vortex, actually, a decreasing spiral. That's part of the effect of the imagery, because the damned in hell get more and more compact as we go down. There stands Minos grotesquely. Why Minos? Well, as we read on, that's line 3. And he snarls, examining the guilty at the entrance. He judges, dispatches, tail in coils. Okay. Part of the reason is that in classical mythology, Minos, the king of Crete, became a judge in hell, a judge in the underworld. That's what we're told in classical mythology, and so Dante continues that. And he becomes an image of lust because of his wife's lust for a sacred bull that in fact led to the conception of the Minotaur, and we'll meet the Minotaur himself, the infamy of Crete, as he is called, so in a circumlocution, so as not to name that disgusting subject. And so Dante discovers that this is the sin devoted to lust. He in line 38 and following, he says, "I learned that to this place of punishment all those who sin in lust have been condemned, and those who make reason slave to appetite." Okay. For the medieval psychology, and the secular psychology talks about, in fact, this is exactly what's wrong with Christians. They're neurotic about sexuality. That they they try to obliterate it. They are unnatural. Christians are unnatural because they act as if sexual desire is not a natural part of the human psyche. In fact, quite the opposite is true. And this is not just Christian. This is classical analysis too. The ancient Greeks understood that in the figure of Aphrodite, that there was this strong sexual power, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Not even for the ancient Greeks. There is a balance between reason. The goddess Athena, which is why she was a virgin goddess, needs to balance Aphrodite, and of course that's the Christian analysis too. That sexual desire is has a purpose and a good, but it needs to be reined in. How does he put it? Uh, the the natural order of things is reversed in the lustful. Their reason is enslaved by Aphrodite, by Eros, by the power of lust. And so, therefore, Dante goes through the next 20, 30 lines or so, lines 42 to 66 or so, giving a panorama, looking through this circle of hell and seeing this panorama of all of the lustful people of both mythological and historical venues: Semiramis, Dido, Cleopatra, Helen. And out of all of these, to whom does Dante want to speak? Cleopatra, the great lustful queen of Egypt? No. Helen, the most beautiful woman of the ancient times, who in fact committed adultery with, ran off with a rival prince? No. He chooses to speak to these. They're historical characters that Dante would have known their story, but these two Italian lovers, Paolo and Francesca, who were Francesca was married to the brother of her lover, and so she tells her story. And she tells the story about what led them to their adultery largely was pornography. That is, this lustful poetry of the ancient days, the romance of Lancelot. Lancelot, who, in fact, the pure knight, who ended up, in fact, destroying his purity in an adulterous affair with Guinevere, which ended up, in fact, destroying the perfect kingdom of Camelot. But of course, the romance writers make it seem well worth it, and so it's this very sensuous poetry. Poetry of the type that Dante had been writing. Dante had been a poet of love, and in many ways, that is that's the sense in which we find Dante at the beginning of the Divine Comedy, lost in the woods. He is lost in error, and that is his error is perhaps indulging too much in this kind of notion of love, and it is that perhaps that draws him to the story of Paolo and Francesca. Each of the sinners that Dante will see, there will be, he'll talk to them, and in fact it's through this discussion, it's through Dante's personal contact with the sinners, that he will learn, he will apply this to his own spirituality. Now, there will be sinners, there will be sins that Dante will encounter that never, that aren't really an issue with Dante, because that's true of all sinners. I mean, some of us, there are so many ways to fall down, to be imperfect, and not all of us are guilty of all sins. But where there are areas where Dante does not have a predilection, he connects the sin with himself by connecting with a friend, okay, to show that, yes, I may not be guilty of this particular sin, but that's no reason for me to vaunt and present myself as spiritually superior, because one might be guilty of any individual sin. So so we'll see that as we go on. If Dante doesn't have a personal connection with the sin, he'll find somebody who does, who is personally connected with him. So Francesca's story about the reading the dirty story of Lancelot And that takes us into Canto 6. So let's do Canto 6 quickly. Dante awakens in the third circle, and he sees rain and snow, and then he sees the three-headed dog, Fluffy. No, that's a different book. Cerberus, he is called here, the dog of hell. Um, Virgil, so we've got to get past this snarling dog that guards this entrance to the third level of hell. And of course, Virgil has encountered Cerberus before. In his imagination of Aeneas in the book 6 of the Aeneid, going down into the underworld and seeing this snarling dog, and he's been given a sop, bread soaked in honey, to throw to the dog so that the dog will eat it, and so he'll get by. Dante parodies that theme, that scene in the Aeneid by throwing not a sop, not a bread soaked in honey, but a mouthful of mud, and and how appropriate for this level of hell, because this level of hell is the place for the sinners who are gluttons, and so this is the level of gluttony, and so that image of a dog being satisfied with a mouthful of muck is the disgusting image that he wants us to be disgusted, because he wants us to be disgusted by the sin of gluttony. Dante meets one of the first familiar faces. It's Ciacco. He introduces himself. Your own city, he says. He's an enemy of Florence. So filled with envy, its cup already overflows the brim, once held me in the brighter life above. Line 51. So Ciacco is a fellow Florentine. You citizens gave me the name of Ciacco, and for my sin of gluttony I am damned, as you can see, to reign that beats me weak. Ciacco, I said to him, your grievous state weighs down on me. As with Paolo and Francesca, Dante sympathizes. He pities the sinner. It makes me want to weep, but tell me what will happen if you know. To the citizens of that divided state, Dante is dreadfully concerned about Florence. What's going to happen? And he instinctively knows something that Virgil will confirm later, and that is that the citizens of hell, because hell is outside of time, it's another one of the eternal realms. It's infernal and eternal. People in hell know future events, because to them it's not necessarily future. They're outside of time. So Ciacco is the first denizen of hell to ask Dante a favor, and we will find this favor repeated throughout the rest of the 30-some, well, 30, less than 30, 27 cantos remaining. The only thing that Dante can do, you can't spring me out of hell. Abandon all hope is what it said over the door. So, but what we can do is bring a positive note of me back to the world of history. They know that Dante is not dead, and that Dante will be going back to the world. So speak kindly of me when you get back into the world. That is his request, and this is not the last time we'll hear that request made. Okay, but it is the last time that we'll be talking about this canto. So we'll call it quits here, and stay tuned for a video. Watch the video on La Vita Nuova, the first 5 chapters. Okay, God bless you.